Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 9 of the Behind the Medal podcast.
With me, Gary Damer.
And me, Dean Smith. Hold tight for some begging. Gary.
All the usual gear. Follow us on Twitter, at Behind the Medal. Wherever you're listening, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, give us a review if you're feeling generous. Subscribe to our podcast.
Yep, wherever. Tell one person today.
Tell a friend.
About the podcast. Okay, before we start, we have this very quick message. Warning! This episode contains swearing. So, if you don't like words any stronger than spanner or ragamuffin, then maybe this podcast isn't for you.
Okay, here we go for episode 9. Strap in. Strap on, strap X, strap.
Shh, just be quiet. We're going to roll now. Dean, Gary. Gary and Dean, chatting along in a new podcast. Gary and Dean, and Gary's got hairy hands.
We run around and see the world. Triathlon tales, Dean's hair is curled. We talk some shit and play some games.
For legal reasons, some names are changed. Oh, sorry. Gary and Dean, chatting along on a new podcast.
Gary and Dean, you won't get this time back.
Okay, yes, welcome back, episode 9. Now, officially, this episode is going to be called Danny Mills Part 2.
Part 2.
Part Dergs. Because we, obviously, those of you who listen to the podcast regularly, we went and met with Danny a little while ago, and it was so fascinating and lovely and long. I didn't fancy squeezing it all into one, Gary.
Yeah, sometimes it can get a bit much, can't it, listening to it for too long? So we thought we'd split it up because he has got really interesting stuff to say. I've spoken to some people who listened to the first Danny Mills, and it was their personal favourite. Because I think just the things he had to say and the way he said them, again, with him being a professional sportsman, he sort of still made a lot of sense to a normal person who's not played in a World Cup. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you said it last time that it's one thing me and you saying, hey, go out and do a run, go out and feel good about yourself, achieve stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas when someone like Scott Cunliffe does it, where he's running 3,000 miles in 9 months, or Danny Mills has done it, who's achieved all he has done in the world of sport, it has a bit more gravitas than me and you.
It hits home a bit more, for sure.
A little bit, yeah. So without further ado, we'll dive straight back into the chat. And in this little section of the interview, Danny is talking about how running and sport in general is very much a family thing in the Mills household.
My wife's friend's doing it at the moment, running same sort of distances. She's going, I hate it. Last week I had to stop and ring my husband, come pick me up. I was crying. She said, I keep having to stop and I need the toilet and this and that and the other. I said, my wife's going, I'm quite enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm going, well, that's the point.
Yeah. But then sometimes you do have those runs. I have those runs where I...
Yeah, but her friend seems to be having it all the time.
Right, yeah.
And I'm going, and I'm saying, well, just... The whole point is supposed to be enjoyable.
Yeah.
Because if it's not, it's just shit.
Yeah. You're doing this in your spare time.
Well, yeah.
As a hobby.
Yeah. It's like if you're going out and crying every time, you're going, fuck it. You won't go to
the cinema and cry on the popcorn stand going, I hate this.
I've done that a couple of times.
I bet you have, yeah.
Emotional wreck.
So my wife rang the other day. She was 17 miles in.
Wow.
And she went, I want to get to 18. And you know what, sod it, I'll get to 20. And I'm going, well, just keep going. So I went and met her on the bike and just sort of bike the last 3 miles with her. She said, just keep going.
Yeah.
I'm going slow. And I said, it's not a problem. You've dropped down to 10-minute mile pace. It's fine.
Yeah.
And she finishes it and goes, oh, yeah, but it's really slow at the end. I went, look at your average. Your average is still 4:09 pace.
Yeah.
Well, and as well, the number to look at is that big 20.
Yeah.
20 fucking miles.
You can do 20 miles. I said, you can have a week off now.
yeah.
I love the sound of your household and just everyone like dead competitive.
Oh, it's murder. It's not a good place to be at sometimes.
So how's your lad doing?
So my eldest now running. So he's back fit. He had a real tough time of it. Won European 800 metres
wow.
juniors 2 years ago into BLC out in Georgia, and then came off the back of that, had a really good cross-country season and got a stress fracture. Came off the back of that, got another stress fracture. First one in his leg and then one in his back. Again, growing pains and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
and again, because you're pushing yourself as an elite athlete, it's tough. But touchwood now, he's back fit. Ran indoors this season just to get back into running, and now he's looking in good shape. But again, it's tough because he's 19 and he wants to be winning a gold medal now.
Yeah.
And it's not going to happen for maybe 6 years. 5-6 years, and it's a long-term process, and it's hard to get that in their head, because the mentality is I want to win every week, don't like coming second, not used to that, but that's hard. So that's what I'm saying. The burden of being a professional athlete, professional sportsman. Yes, it's the best life on the planet, and you get well rewarded for it, depending on running, maybe not financially, but you get and everything else comes with it. But it can be mentally, it can be a bit of a burden because it's tough to have that long-term goal and keep pushing it and getting tiny little improvements and then getting knockbacks all the time, and that's not easy. It's difficult to handle.
Yeah,
I bet. Yeah.
Is there any side of you that sort of drills that into him? Keeps him level and just go.
I've had to. Off the back of these injuries, he went into indoors, the Europeans. British indoors, whatever it was. And bear in mind, he hadn't run for quite a long time. He hadn't raced indoors much. And it was like, right, okay, what's... And I sat down with Steve McGregor, who's a fabulous physio doctor, set up the Manchester Institute of Health and Performance.
Oh, cool.
Set up all the Etihad complex at Man City, was McElroy's fitness guru for a long time. He was with me at Leeds back in the day. So he lives in town. And I got Steve to sit down and said, look, you need a long-term goal, and this is for everybody.
Yeah.
You need a long-term plan, and then you need a weekly plan. And every week, all right, what is the aim of this session? So now he writes down, this is the aim of this session. It's a little tick box exercise. Right, so the aim is to do 10 200 metres at this time. You finish it and go, right, okay, 9 out of 10 done. Success.
Yeah.
The following week the same. Because then when you have a bad week, you can go back and go, well, actually, I've had 10 weeks of really good success.
Right, yeah.
I've just had a bad week.
Yeah, that's
or I've just had a bad run.
Because that makes it all tangible then.
So then going into the championships, right, what is the plan? The plan is to run a PB, indoors, done. Placing's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Because you never know where that's going to... You can't control anybody else, what they're running.
Sure, yeah.
You might get some superhuman that just runs a freak race.
Yeah.
And although you might break a world record, but they still might run faster than you.
Yeah.
So all you can do is what you can do. So it's blocking things down and going and having goals and achievements. So it might be marathon training or running. It might be, right, okay, I'm going to run 15 miles. It took me half an hour longer than I wanted. But you've run 15 miles. The aim was run 15 miles without stopping, without getting a cab home.
Yeah.
Done.
Tick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And it's going out and having reasonable expectations and setting those goals where you can come back and go, success. Success. Because over the course of time, you have a lot more tick boxes or green boxes than you do red ones.
Yeah, than the crosses. I love that. That's the crux of most things in life, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, when you sit down and really think about it, it's just those ticks.
And
that's
the hardest thing as a sportsman, as an athlete. Because, go back to the Olympics, and when you get Olympians go, everyone goes, yeah, it's amazing, you've got a silver medal, and they go, I've just wasted 4 years of my life.
It's the wrong colour.
Yeah.
And I get that, because, and I always say to people, quite this, Usain Bolt, the story was him getting beat.
Yeah.
He wins, everyone goes, yeah, brilliant, pop a few champagne corks, job done.
Yeah.
End of. The story was him getting beat.
Yeah.
That was what the big drama.
And people waiting for that.
Yeah, Mo Farah getting beat. And people say, yeah, I said, no, but that's what it is, because they expect to win. So coming second is awful.
Yeah.
That's considered failure.
Yeah.
Whereas most people go, silver medal, oh my God, it's like,
So
beyond anyone's wildest dreams. And I equate that to business. And I say to people when I do sort of businessy type talks, when you do a deal, or you do a job, or you do an acting role, or whatever it might be, and it's gone brilliantly, you go, yeah, job done. Quick night out, couple of beers, brilliant.
Yeah.
What's next? When you've had a nightmare and you've messed it up big time, it goes over in your head. Or you've messed a deal up in business, it goes over and over, and that's gone.
Yeah.
And you can't do anything about it, and it wasn't enjoyable. But that's the one that sort of eats away at you.
Yeah.
And it's sort of a successful mentality, but it's a bit of a burden.
Well, because you self-sabotage as well, don't you?
That's exactly what it is.
You're your own worst enemy in those moments.
And I'm sure you've never done a bad acting job.
You say that.
Yeah, I've known him for long enough.
but that's the mentality, and that's what it's all about. It's like it's when the bad times eat you up more.
Yeah. But
That's when you've gone over the line.
I like that idea of you having all the like with your lad doing the green ticks, and then when you have that bad one, you can just.
And that's
sit
why
back.
setting a plan for a 10k, a half marathon, a marathon is really, really important, because you can have a bad day, you can have a bad week, and you can go, oh, but actually, I'm on course still.
Yeah.
Because you're always going to have a bad run. You're always going to have a bad day. You know, even I had a bad game of football once. I think once. Was
that what Charlton still?
Once a week.
Well,
once a week, generally Saturday, 3 o'clock.
I was just going to bring that back. Actually, you were talking about the green ticks and getting your week sorted and stuff. Sort of around about the turn of the millennium, when you're playing in a very successful Leeds team, you're the starting right back for England, and semi-final Champions League, quarter-final of the World Cup out in South Korea. How do you, as a very competitive human being, recover from those red ticks, those red crosses?
You don't.
Is that super tough for you to
well,
get to?
ask Gareth, who took him until this year to get over a penalty miss.
That's fucking true. Never thought that.
You know, it's tough.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard, because when you're in it, you're in it. So go back to the World Cup. You know, you win a game. I made a slight mistake in the first game against Sweden. Okay, bounce back from that. You beat Argentina. Unbelievable. But that night you have 2 beers, go, right, okay, we've got a game in 3 days' time, need to recover. Don't really enjoy it as much as you should.
Yeah.
Another game coming. Oh, out of the tournament.
Yeah.
Oh. That's all right, there'll be another one coming. So next season, same thing again. And you're just on that hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Constantly going round and round, because you think it's going to last forever.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's over. And you look back and go, oh, maybe I should have enjoyed that a bit more. Should have taken in those experiences and all those surroundings, because you think you're invincible. You know, it's a bit egotistical, a bit arrogant, but it's as a sportsman especially, you think you're going to last forever. You think life is going to go on forever, and it don't.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
And because it's funny you say that, because I bumped into Jordan Pickford a few weeks ago, and I shook his hand and said, mate, thank you so much. I said, this summer with England's World Cup exploits, I said it was just the best fucking summer. And he went, we had no idea, because we were just doing a game.
And that naivety, that naivety. But then you sort of you look at it and think, is it going to? What does it get better?
Yeah.
To push yourself to the next level is the hardest thing, and that's what becomes really difficult. To have a degree of success, and this is where I said that the running mentality to complete a marathon, and then go, right, now I want to do another PB.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're on the borderline of going crazy, because you just want to need to beat. Yeah. It's like, I need to beat that, need to beat that, need to beat that, need to beat that. And all of a sudden you're just wrapped up and you're obsessed very, very quickly. And that's what becomes difficult. And that's what sport is. You know, it's obsession.
Yeah, and the pursuit of the next thing, the better. Yeah.
It's just making sure you do everything you possibly can and go into the extremes.
Yeah.
Oh man, the Mills household sounds like a mad place to live, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the first thing I wrote down there. Imagine that household.
Just trying to outdo each other, and it sounds fun, but then also part of me there was thinking, pushing each other like that, you have to have that mindset.
Yeah,
you have to have that mindset.
You've got to, because I would go, I'm just gonna sit here in my pajamas, have a pizza.
Yeah.
And Danny Mills is gonna be going, no, come on, he'll be jumping on his bike. I'll go with you. Like, fucking hell.
Bring in the fucking sports scientist from Leeds United. Come here. Have a word with Gary. Put the pizza down.
I said to you as well during that, his lad getting a stress fracture in his back.
Yeah.
I didn't think that could happen.
Well, I mean, it must just be pure repetitive. If he's doing a lot of trail running, by the sounds of it, maybe he's just come off a route incorrectly, or I don't know, a rock or something.
It made me laugh because he said he got a stress fracture in his leg and his back, so he moved to indoor running.
Yeah.
Like didn't just go, I'm gonna sack it off for a bit.
Yeah.
He moved to indoor running.
I can have a sit down for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
No, I'll just do it indoors for a bit.
Again, I'll be going. I'm gonna put in pajamas on and have a pizza and let me back heal, if you don't mind.
Let this hole in my back seal up. But it sounds great, and from what I've heard about his lads before, very talented guys.
Right.
So I think they're just on that hamster wheel now that Danny describes about trying to get better, trying to get faster, stronger, all these things.
Yeah.
Again, if you guys listening want to follow Danny on his social media, he's on Instagram. It's DannyMills77 off the top of my head. We'll put it into the description. And he's often putting stuff up about his lad, George.
Yeah,
he did one the other day, and they're flying. There was him and a few mates or guys from GB or whatever, and they're flying. They look fabulous.
I've seen the videos, and like even like the way they run, you know what I mean? Like what's it called? Like the technique. I guess.
Yeah.
It just looks fucking great.
It looks amazing. I can do about 3 strides of that.
Yeah,
and then I stop.
Yeah, I'm like literally like Phoebe from Friends, arms and legs all over the gaff.
Yeah, rated. But I really like this long-term plan and short-term plan thing that he talks about.
It's interesting because I think I might have said this, but we've had 2 guests, Scott and Danny.
Yeah.
And they've both referenced this tick list.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's an athlete thing or just a sort of mental thing of, dealing with.
Yeah, because I make a lot of lists, and I make a lot of for every day I have a to-do list, regardless of how small it is. And I think it's a control thing as well, and it's a way of rationalizing your success. Have I done today correctly?
Yeah.
Tick, tick, tick. So I think for a sportsman, that's going to have different stuff on it. Like he said, they're running 200 meters in such a time, 9 times out of 10 or whatever it is, whereas mine's put the bins out.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're sat in front of my cleaning room, aren't we? There's not a tick next to the bathroom that needs doing.
God. But I think that's true of anyone, and I think obviously Danny talks about it with his son there, and it's at sort of an elite athlete's level, but I think that translates to society.
Yeah,
absolutely.
What I did find interesting as well is when he talks about his son, and he's saying he's putting in the hours and he wants a gold medal now.
Yeah,
and it's all about that. When he said about the finishing second and it's the wrong colour and all that, straight away it popped in my mind to last week's episode when we chatted to Callum.
Yes.
Who he finished 5th. You know what I mean? And that sort of different mentality where he was absolutely fucking buzzing with that 5th.
But then do you not remember what he said moments after that?
I do, yeah. Where he immediately thought, if I'd have done this, I'd have done that, and I got a 3rd, whatever, 2nd. Yeah. But I guess it's just mentality in it, and like he said, it is a burden, I guess.
Yeah, he said the word burden a few times in that, Danny, there, and I guess I can understand that. And the pressure you put on yourself to get better can sometimes feel very stifling, I expect.
Yeah. It's hard because I just don't have that mentality. And even though I obviously strive to get better in my running, I couldn't really care less.
Yeah, that's why you're not a professional athlete. Do you know?
I know. But I think I don't know. It's weird because I do my tick list and I want to get, I'm trying for a sub 4 hour marathon and all that, but I just take it easy as well.
But because running the marathons is fairly low on your priority list. For some people, if it's further up, they put more effort into it,
Yeah.
It's a big part of your life and your years, but it's not well up there, do you know?
Yeah, all right, yeah, no, you've nailed it there.
I just give yourself a break, man. Shelling yourself for not being a superhero. Well, on that note, we're going to hear some more from a superhero of mine from his Leeds United days. Back to Danny Mills. So when you look back on those...
look at that. Look at...
Oh, here we go.
This is so posh.
I want to get a sunburn here now, mate.
This is so posh. Look at that.
They've got some heaters on behind us.
Quick plug for Cold Bath Brewing on Cold Bath Road, not on Cold Bath Road, on Kings Road in Harrogate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Best microbrewery.
Shout out to a lovely venue.
Yeah, they just switched them.
Mick's a good pal of mine. Apart from he's a Tottenham fan. He's just put the heaters on for us because we just dipped into the shade.
Just dipped into the shade here in sunny Yorkshire. But yes, so when you look back on that time, around about the millennium, Leeds doing well, England team, what's your takeaway memories from that? Is that something that you can now look back and enjoy? Because it kind of doesn't sound like it, really.
Yes and no. And actually, you probably didn't enjoy it as much as you should have done when you were in it, because you think it's going to last forever, and you think we've got another game. No, you haven't. You've been knocked out. But then you look back and go, you know what? Actually, I was pretty average at what I did. I did all right for myself.
Do you truly believe you were pretty average?
Yeah. I mean, I was. I mean, for the ability that I had, I was far more successful than I should have been.
But isn't that a testimony to you as a...
Well, no, because that sounds a bit like I'm a big-headed git.
No,
it doesn't.
And I can ask you that question as well.
No, but well, I mean, Gary Neville's similar. Gary Neville will probably say something similar. But, you know, actually, he was far more successful than his ability should have been. His brother, Phil, was a better player. Technically was better, was more gifted. But Gary was more successful because of his attitude and his work rate and all the rest of it. I was similar. I had to be the fittest player at most football clubs.
Yeah.
I didn't have the ability. You know, I don't have the ability now of my kids. But I did what I was good at, and I made the best of what I was.
Yeah.
And I think that is. So I look back now and I go, I think I have to pull it up from 2003. I think the last time I was on FIFA.
Oh really?
I had to go in one of those second-hand shops, you know, that sell the games and drag it out for the kids. It didn't work, surprisingly.
No.
So a bit of Google, and I pulled up the stats from 2003. Here you go, kids. 93 rated on FIFA. You know what I mean?
Love it.
I think it was slightly different how it was formatted back then.
It was out of 1,000.
I think it was aggression 10, fitness 10, passing 4. But I'm like that, you know, 93 rated. You know, I weren't bad. You know.
But that's interesting that you think, looking back, that you weren't as good as. Like, I had a season ticket at Ellen Road.
Yeah, but
you were
I mean,
a fan favourite.
Technically, I was never gifted.
Right.
You know, it was never going to be that sort of. So every game, I had to turn up, and I had to be on it. I wasn't Robbie Fowler. You mentioned Harry's heroes, that you know, Letitia, that can just turn Merson, that even at mid-50s, massively overweight, all of them can just turn up and just turn it on.
Yeah.
Bang, brilliant. Because it's just natural ability. They're just phenomenal. I had to be fitter than my opponent, stronger than my opponent, mentally more prepared than my opponent, and I knew I had to do that. So you know, I didn't go out as much as I probably should and enjoyed it like most footballers did, because I knew I couldn't get away with it.
Yeah.
You know, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
My lad now plays, my middle lad, all the ability in the world. You know, far more ability than I've got. And in fact, all my kids have. We did a thing in the summer. Was it last year before? You know, playing on the beach in Ibiza. You know, the thing that we do, the round the world thing.
Yeah.
So they're all keeping it up, and they're all taking turns and doing, you know, spinning and they give it to me, and I just went, forget that.
Toe-bunged it.
Yeah. Just booted it in the sea.
Nice.
Go and get it.
They don't care one bit about your England caps. They're
Well,
like,
no, and that's what it is. I think, you know, it's everyone's different at running, everyone's different at sport.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. You do what you're good at, and again, it corny as hell. Just be the best that you can be.
Well, it sounds like you absolutely nailed that yourself. Because I mean, I play a little bit of football, but nothing obviously like with the standard.
No, you'll never be as good as me.
I think I'm better than Dean. I've not kicked a ball for 10 years.
But for you to, like you said, be the best that you could be, and then achieve all the things you did, that's fucking amazing.
Well, and it is, and like so it's not now until you sort of reminisce and you go back and go, wow, did all right for myself.
Oh mate,
You know,
I
it's
was
like,
there. I was at all those Champions League nights, and they were incredible.
And you go through it and go, yeah, actually, I played for England, played in the World Cup.
Yeah.
It's only like, and I think it was this year. I was out in the Far East covering it, the World Cup for TV out there. I think there's only 500 Englishmen played in the World Cup.
And you're one of them.
Yeah, and you go, oh, hang on a minute, yeah, that's not bad, is it?
Nah,
and you start to think, oh, okay, yeah, did all right. It always gets eclipsed. We had Gilberto Silva come in, who's obviously clearly won it. Yeah, all right, thanks. But most humble guy on the planet, I have to say.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
But then that's what, you know. There's always somebody better than you, and there's always somebody going to be better. There's always somebody richer. There's always somebody faster.
Yeah.
Or there's always somebody going to be faster. Somebody better. So I think, again, as you get older, and one day you'll both be my age.
Hopefully, touch wood.
Yeah. you get to that point where you go, you know what? Actually, I'm happy with myself. And I think, and I know that's maybe an old age, just an experience thing. I'm happy with my lot. You can't keep. You're not always going to be the fastest. You're not always going to be the best. You're not always going to be this, that, and the other. There's always going to be somebody coming up.
Yeah.
Just actually, you know what? Did my best, gave it everything, and I can't do much more than that.
You can't say fairer than that, Danny. There are so
I
many...
can say fairer than that. I can say fairer than that. Boom, boom. It's like Basil Brush.
But just because he's ginger, you don't have to say that.
Oh no, you can't. You're not allowed to say that in this day and age.
Do you know what? I've been so well as well not shelling Yorkshire this week. But
Well,
I'm follically challenged. I'm not bald. That's strawberry blonde.
Strawberry blonde.
No, it's definitely ginger. I don't like putting myself in the strawberry blonde category.
But you're not allowed to say that anymore, are you?
So what, strawberry blonde? Or?
No, ginger.
Are you not?
You
No.
can say ginger. He's
You're
been
not-
campaigning for ginger emojis on Twitter
You're
since...
not allowed to call people ginger.
What are you supposed to
Because
say?
I
Tell, tell the
don't
rest
know.
of the world that.
You're not allowed to. No, I know. Politically incorrect. Which
What do we say then? How do we
you're
refer
not,
to
no,
him? Just a twat then?
Yeah.
Not a ginger twat, just a twat.
Yeah. People get offended for being offended's sake.
They do, don't they?
Sometimes. I think it's good to make sure that people feel like they are heard, and so you're not purposefully going out and shelling people. But I can call me mate ginger. And prodding.
Do you know what? I mean, in terms of we've gone off track here, but the global thing is, it's all about context.
Yeah.
Is your mate? You can call him what you like.
Yeah.
Because it's not offensive.
I seen an interview with Jack Whitehall, and he was saying like he's just waiting for the day where he gets in trouble for a tweet he did 10 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just for someone to like look through it and
that's and it's even harder with sort of actors, comedians, and that sort of stuff. I mean, I was watching the new the Ricky Gervais thing, Afterlife.
yeah.
And a lot of his stuff is on the edge, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, if you said that in real life, you're not sure you could get away with it.
Definitely not.
But it's funny, and it's because it's got context.
Yeah.
And I think, that's what we all forget. Everyone takes it out of context and takes it as a one-off.
Yeah.
No, sometimes it's acceptable because we're friends.
Yeah.
And you know people, and that's all right.
Yeah.
You can't go and say it to everybody.
Oh, completely, yeah.
Yeah, you have to understand who and when and all that sort of stuff. And I think we need to get a little bit of realism and a bit of common sense back into life.
I think it'll come back round, won't it? I think Twitter started out being a really nice place for people to share views, and it's kind of gone full circle.
Twitter's spiteful.
Twitter's gone in a strange place.
It
at
has.
the minute.
Well, the whole country has, though, hasn't it?
It is mad to me to hear Danny Mills say that he thinks he was average. I understand his mindset behind it, about how he technically wasn't as gifted as those other players that he mentioned, but he was such a fan favourite at Allen Road when I used to go down there. It's mental to be sat opposite him and slag himself off almost.
Yeah. I like that he sort of, because of that though, he knew he had to turn up
Yeah.
faster, better, stronger,
Yeah.
mentally prepared. I think that's, he had the right idea, didn't there? Because I guess there's a lot of people out there that probably weren't as good as others, but have fallen by the wayside because they didn't have that.
100%. I have friends who should have been professional footballers but didn't have that mentality that Danny has, and so aren't.
Yeah.
Now. But they should have been, And for him to say there as well that he just made the best of what he was, to have that level of introspection and go, here we go, this is my skill set, this is what's going to propel me in this profession, whatever it may be. His was football, obviously, and he just nailed it all and achieved all the stuff he did. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
But because of that, though, he on the other side of the coin, he also said he didn't enjoy it as much as what he now thinks he should have done.
Yeah.
Because he had that mindset, he didn't have as much party time or downtime, as what the others did have.
Possibly, but then he wouldn't have enjoyed it as much if he hadn't have played for England or if he hadn't have been in that Leeds team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If he'd have languished around the lower leagues, but been able to have had a beer, it depends what you prioritise, innit?
Like you say, that's retrospect though, innit? Because now he's saying he's happy with his lot and he's happy with how things have gone, and that's good, man. He sounds like he believes that, and he's
Absolutely.
not that I'm. Do you know what I mean? Putting words in his mouth or whatever, but it does seem genuinely chuffed and appreciative.
He lives in Yorkshire, mate. We're all happy.
Listen, right. This ginger thing, while we're on the shelling thing, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't realise ginger was...
Well, I didn't. I don't know where he got it from. It might be fake news because it's just it's the hair colour is ginger.
Yeah.
Is it not?
The hair colour's ginger.
Yeah.
Ginger twat. I think, mate, if you don't know me, it's probably a bit much.
Yeah.
It makes it worse than just twat. You know what I mean? Oh, you twat.
Yeah.
Oh, you ginger twat. Then I'd probably get my back up a bit more.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, twat's slightly more anonymous than than ginger twat.
Very specific. It's definitely talking to me, isn't it? Right? It could be either one of us.
But then,
twat.
but then maybe it's an efficient way of slagging someone off, because if I just shouted twat into a group, you turn around, obviously you know your place.
Yeah.
But if I went, hey, ginger twat, then just you would turn around.
Yeah, but then the rest of the group would turn around to look at me.
And agree with me. Yeah, cool.
Anyway, call me what you fucking want. Give a shit.
No, but he does have a point about context and all of that sort of stuff, and the way we refer to each other, I think.
Yeah, context is the one.
Yeah.
With that in mind, it actually stood out to me as well that when he was doing the World Cup last year, in the context of that was when he sort of sat back and went, do you know what, actually, I played for England. I'm one of the 500 Englishmen that played for England.
Yep. And within that context, what an amazing achievement.
Yeah.
But then he said as well straight away, because he's a sportsman, that within the context of Gilberto Silva walking in, who's won the thing, he goes, oh, well, maybe not as much.
The twat.
Okay, in this next little clip from the interview with Danny talks about the differences between men and women in sport. It's an interesting listen, so buckle in.
Sport is not the real world, and
Yeah.
sport will always be different
Yeah.
to the real world, because running is about furthest, fastest,
Yeah.
fittest, highest, longest,
Mhm.
whatever it might be. And because of that, it will never be a level playing field.
Yeah.
And it will never be fair. And sport doesn't really replicate what society should be. And I
Yeah.
always say to people, who's the fastest man in the world?
Usain Bolt.
Who's the fastest woman?
Paul Radcliffe.
Radcliffe.
Fastest woman in the world?
I would say so.
She not. She can't run the 100 metres very fast, can she?
Oh, well, I don't know.
So, so there you go.
Yeah.
Who's our national treasure in terms of running 10Ks and 5Ks, male?
Mo Farah.
Yeah.
So Mo Farah.
Yeah.
Woman?
Kelly Holmes.
1,500.
I don't know.
But that's not current. She
Yeah.
retired 20. And that's the problem that you've got.
Yeah.
You know, the discrepancy. And part of that is media.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that is down to, being out there. But part of it is actually because Usain Bolt is the fastest.
Yeah.
He's the fastest human
Yeah.
on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
He also happens to be a man.
Yeah.
And that's... So that you're never going to get a level playing field in sport, but because of the difference in gender.
Yeah. And do you think because you said that sport doesn't reflect society, and you're absolutely right, but do you think people expect it to?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
because
that's,
it's so everywhere.
Because sport is high profile and
Yeah.
always in the media. People go, well, let's use sport as the example.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
And you've got, equal pay for equal jobs, fine.
Yep.
But you're not going to get Serena Williams playing against Roger Federer.
No.
Mm-hmm.
If they want the same money, and it's where does that line, if there's sponsorship involved, then if it's exactly the same job, then fine. And there's all those, you don't expect the women's team to play against the men's team.
Yeah.
Because it's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
So sport, and the gender pay gap and all those sort of things, brilliant. If you do the same job, then fine. So been a jockey.
Mm-hmm.
There should be no discrepancy
Yeah.
whatsoever, because it is basically it's exactly the same job.
Yeah.
And generally it's the horse that is doing all the work. Formula One or driving, it's the car that's putting the yard. It's not just a car, but there is not so much physicality
Yeah.
in driving a car as there is in having to run 10K.
Yeah.
So therefore that you should be getting paid the same if you're doing the same job.
Mm-hmm.
Sport, you've then got sponsorship. People want to be associated with the fastest, the furthest, the strongest,
Yeah.
and all these type of things. Sport is brilliant, and because it's in the media all the time, it's a focal point, but sport shouldn't necessarily be a reflection of what life is.
Yeah. No, I think that's a fair comment, because I think because it is everywhere, there are millions of channels dedicated to sport.
Yeah.
The back pages of every newspaper
and
in
people
the world.
aspire to be in sports people and use them as role models and idols and all the rest of it. People always think, well, actually, sport should be the pinnacle of equality.
Yeah.
And actually, it's not. It's the worst on the planet for equality.
Do you think that would do you think that's changing?
No.
Do you think it ever will do?
It will catch up slowly. But, you know, and again, this is probably not politically correct. Women's football and men's football are almost two separate sports. Women's football is getting more and more popular and will get better and better and will get more and more media attention and more be on TV, and girls will want to be footballers because of that.
Yeah.
But is it ever going to get to the level of the men? No.
It's got a long way to catch up.
Because it will always be a little bit more exciting to watch faster, to watch Messi, rather than Marta.
Yeah.
Because he can do things that she can't.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is because of physicality.
Yeah.
And it's the same with athletics. You know, that's tennis. As I said, women's tennis is slightly different. 'Cause actually, with the tennis, men's tennis has got so powerful, it's just boom, boom,
just
boom.
baseline, bang,
that's
bang.
it. Whereas actually, women's tennis is far more graceful and better to watch because it's a technically better sport.
Yeah.
I would probably rather watch a lot of women's tennis, so that might change it. So again, it's sport on sport. You have to take into consideration.
Then, like until the World Cup just gone, the Men's World Cup just gone, I, for a little period, much preferred watching the women's English team, and I'll tell you for why. Because there was heart there.
Yeah.
And so, because they have something to prove for the
but the problem is, what we do is we compare it to the men's game.
Yeah.
And it's not the men's game.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And it's never going to be the men's game.
No.
So that's what I'm saying. It should almost be a separate sport by itself, and almost disassociated. It's women's football and men's football. Just watch them for their own
merits.
Yeah. And that's what it should be. Not compare the two.
How much of that is a issue that has been pushed by the media, do you think, or is that just a national thing that we've got?
Again, it gets thrown into that big pot of we need to be more diverse, we need to have more gender equality and all the rest of it, which is brilliant, absolutely fabulous. But again, there are times where it's going to be separate.
Yeah.
You know, and that's and whether you like it or not, it's life.
Yeah, and that's fine. There's a reason why there's a men's game and a women's game.
Of course there is.
And so that should be celebrated as much as it should be acknowledged that it's different, I think.
And that's what it needs to get to, and that's so I think that's what we need to get to, the point of the women's game is different to the men's game. But it's just as good to watch.
Yeah.
But it's different.
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Have you heard how quiet and vacant Gary has been for the last 10 minutes?
I'm only
he doesn't understand football.
No, I know, but it's the most I've ever thought about, like the technicalities of it, and that kind of hearing it from a sports person's side of it. Do you know what I mean? Rather than just headlines on the news for 30 seconds.
And if you think of, Paula Radcliffe's still the fastest marathon runner.
Yeah.
2 hours
14, was it?
12, 14?
I don't know what it is.
How many men have gone under that?
Oh, yeah. Every race, every big race, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all the time. But, and now they've changed it so they can't run with the men because they're not allowed, because they use them as pacemakers, and you've got to set a separate world record and all the rest of it. It's just, but she's a legend. Oh, man. And so she should be.
Yeah. We bumped into her in Chicago.
Equally, she's popped a couple of kids out. I can't do that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, different, horses for courses.
Well, and that's exactly what I think we get it. We've gone too far in getting wrapped up in not celebrating what people are good at.
Yeah.
We're trying to compare and make everybody the same.
Yeah.
And we're not.
Yeah.
Some people are bald. Some people got curly hair.
Some
people are strawberry blonde.
Strawberry blonde.
Well, that took a turn down a road I didn't think we were going.
Yeah.
In that interview.
It's
right. So this is where I'm at.
Yeah.
On the day, and listening back to it now, we're in a society now where that phrase where he said men's football and women's football should be classed as two completely different sports.
Yeah.
that standalone phrase immediately just puts me on edge a little bit because I'm thinking, oh shit, this is. Do you know what I mean?
I do, yeah.
But he then followed it up by making all really fucking valid points that aren't offensive, or it's just a fact, isn't it?
Highlighting physiological differences between the two genders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's saying that everybody's too busy comparing the two to focus on the fact that they're different in their own right because of, like he says, the men's is faster. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be comparing the two. We should be celebrating the two different sports and enjoying them as standalone things.
Yeah.
And that's different to when you look at the gender pay gap and all that because, as he says, driving a car, well, why not? Riding a horse, why not? It's different. It's mad, isn't it? We're symptoms of a society so afraid of offence.
Yeah.
That sometimes you hear a headline.
Yeah, and you just panic that all of a sudden there are people going to be offended, or that maybe I've sometimes you think, oh, maybe I should be offended by what has just been said. But people are afraid of tackling subjects like this in case of offence. Whereas Danny's just come out and said, here are some facts, and backed it up with, I mean, he said that, I think you just touched on it there, about how we should be celebrating the fact that we're different as much as we should be striving to make sure that we are all the same. Equality, diversity, I'll fight for that tooth and nail with anyone. But we are all different. Yeah. And that is as much as a positive as it is, well, not a negative, but it's a thing. We are all different. And so the men's game is going to be different to the women's game. And
instead of, I guess instead of comparing them, I mean, man, it's so tough, innit? Because they're just so worried about upsetting someone just by saying the accidental wrong thing. I am anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, same.
He was nailed on with everything he said there, but I'm not as gifted with my vocabulary.
But I think what was interesting and what sort of started him on this train of thought was that about how people expect sport to be representative of life, and how he says that actually it's one of the things in the world that is sort of most furthest from. Because I mean, we didn't cover it in here, and I don't have any facts to back this up. But well, no, it is a fact. The men's football, the men's game gets, I don't know how many hundreds of times more investment than the women's game.
Right.
And so therefore you've got, take for example Leeds United. Leeds United ladies are a good side, but I'm pretty sure they're part-time. And they certainly don't have anything like the resources ploughed into them that the men's team do. And so the games are going to be different. Do you know, like me and you, when we go running as amateurs that we are, it's a completely different playing field to when if we were to race people whose full-time profession it is to do that.
Yeah.
And so I think that has to be taken into account.
So that's what he's, off what you're saying, that's what he means by saying the two different sports rather than comparing them together.
Yeah, because it's not a level playing field. It's not a level playing field. The amount of investment that the women's game gets is very, very small. Hopefully it'll catch up, but it's got a hell of a long way to go. The men's game has 100 years of history around it, plus. And basically until Sky Sports start to sponsor the women's game and start to put money into the women's game, I don't think it will get anywhere near the men's. Not because of a lack of skill or because the game isn't interesting, because if anyone, I could be walking past a park and there could be a group of 5 lads kicking a ball around. I'll have a little watch. It's a fun thing to watch. It's a great game. But you see there, I just said lads.
Yeah.
A group of lads.
Well, when he was,
it's ingrained into you that football men, you know.
When he was saying to us who's the fastest woman and all that, and I was going, oh shit, I don't know. You feel really embarrassed by it. Yeah.
And I think it's like we touched on, it is symptomatic of the media who just you get spoon fed a lot of the headlines about men's sport and not so much about women's. But yeah, it's an interesting thing, and representation. I feel strange talking about this when it's me and you. We need to get some women in sport on this podcast and open it up.
Yeah,
and talk about it.
We're victims of our own hypocrisy here because we've not had a woman guest yet. So let's do that.
Well, we've been trying. We've been reaching out, and we hopefully have a guest coming up soon. But yeah, it's all good. Me and you sat here speculating. I know a little bit about football. I know even less about running in the world of athletics. You know, what do you know?
I know that United play in red.
There we go.
That's Manchester United, by the way, if I needed to specify.
Well, yeah. Well, you should do, yeah. Well, I don't know. Sheffield United. But so we're not qualified to speak in this way, really. We can comment on what Danny said, and we can have an opinion on that. But we need representation. So yeah, we will put a pin in that there. It's interesting. Tell us your thoughts. What did you think? What did you think of it?
I found it interesting. I think other listeners will as well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Okay, so the final segment here from Danny's chat with us is him answering our 3 final questions.
Okay, so question number 1, Danny. If you could have one thing waiting for you at the finish line of any event, what would it be? Is it going to be food?
Kylie Minogue.
Kylie Minogue.
Kylie Minogue.
In the gold hot pants.
And that's it. Just
I'm always impressed with how quick the answers come out.
I didn't have to think about that one.
Straight away.
I got asked a similar question of the week. You know, the 3 people you have at a dinner party, she was on that as well.
cool.
She's 50 odd, but you know, schoolboy crushes and all that sort of stuff.
She's at Glastonbury this year.
Might have to get myself a ticket.
Do it. Okay, question number 2. This might lead into this, but I doubt it. There's only one song on your running playlist. What is it?
Or I get knocked down, but I get up again. Chumbawamba.
Chumbawamba.
Oh,
There you
really?
go. Yeah. Oh, Danny boy.
Nice.
Is that for the reason why I hope it is?
Yeah. Do you know? It takes. I was at Charlton, I think. It must have been about 98, 99 when that came out. I know nothing about music whatsoever, but I was having a tough time of it, and I think it came out, and it was like, you know what? No, yeah, I can relate to this song.
Yeah.
Well, as well, when
I can remember the words.
When you signed for Leeds, that was the music that you guys used to run out onto the pitch with.
Yes, it was.
And that's why I thought it was.
Now it's the Kaiser Chiefs, isn't it?
Yeah, rubbish.
Yeah. Oh, you can't say that. They're friends of mine.
I love the Kaiser Chiefs. I'm slagging them off.
You're not coming to the next concert.
I like the Kaiser Chiefs. Question number 3. You're on a long run. You could have any 2 people from history, alive or dead. We're just going to assume that they're good runners. Who would you have running alongside you?
Well, I can't have Kylie again. Can I run in front of me?
If she's at the end, she can't be with you.
Yeah, she can't be running with me if she's at the end. Bizarrely, I think I'd have Russell Brand in there.
Right.
I mean, I've seen him a few times. I mean, he'd keep you entertaining.
He would. He'd keep. Yeah.
He's got a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And actually, when he's quite serious, I think he would. The time would pass quite quickly.
Yeah, he's got a nice view of the world. He's got stuff to say. Yeah.
He's a bit different. And then who else would I have run alongside me? I don't know. I'm not sure he'd keep up with us in this day and age, but no, I can't have him. No, he's gone. I'm going to have Mourinho.
Mourinho?
Yeah, I just think he's a fascinating guy. Get inside his head.
Yeah,
break him down and
Yeah,
get inside that where he really comes down to it. I was thinking of Sir David Attenborough, but I'm
Oh, that would be a great
well, it
show.
would, but he's just your granddad, isn't he? You want him to be your granddad.
Yeah.
He's like everyone's favourite granddad. He's going to live to 197 years old. I'm
he
sure.
better have to.
Hopefully, yeah. Mourinho's probably everyone's worst granddad, isn't it?
Yeah, but fascinating. Get inside his head.
Yeah.
Break him down on that run.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you'd have 2 hours to try and get into the
psyche. What he's all
brilliant.
about. Interesting.
Well, Danny Mills, thank you so much, man.
Mate,
This
thank
has
you
been
very much.
It's been a pleasure.
Brilliant.
We're now shaking hands on air, which you can't see because it's a podcast.
Yeah. Gary's kissing the top of his head. It's getting really weird. But we may well come and speak to you again at some point.
By all means.
When you've got some more stories. So we'll give you 20 minutes to gather some more stories.
Correct.
But no, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Good questions, good answers.
Yep.
Good chat.
Kylie Minogue.
Yeah, quick that.
Came out of nowhere, mate.
Yeah, really, really interesting. But I mean, fucking hell, that was like, it went all over the place, didn't it, that chat?
Yeah.
It went everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, we could have asked one question at the start of that and then just left him sat outside that bar and he'd have still been talking now, I think.
Yeah.
Just a fascinating stream of consciousness almost.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, isn't it?
Mm.
And but it's good though, and it's all followed up with really interesting, insightful stuff, and I appreciate it all.
Yeah. Well, I said on the last one that I love meeting sportsmen and women because it's so it's a different mindset to me. I'm a very driven individual. I know what I want from my little time on this mortal coil. But when you sit in front of someone who has the passion like Danny has, obviously in a different way to Scott, being an amateur athlete, ridiculously good amateur athlete, Callum Rollinson the other day, it's a completely different mindset, and I can't help but be fascinated by it.
Yeah, and it does sort of flow out of them as well, doesn't it? Like even just meeting him in the pub, you know what I mean? He's got that energy about him.
Yeah.
And it really is, it's quite fascinating.
Yeah, and I really like to meet Leeds United players.
Well, yeah.
I'm a bit of a loser.
Yeah.
It just, I was 10 years old when I used to watch him at Ellen Road, and meeting him a few years ago at the Yorkshire Marathon, and then we've stayed in touch since. And he supported, we did a gig for prostate cancer a few years ago, charity gig, and he came down and supported that.
Yeah.
Just a nice bloke, passionate man.
Nice, passionate bloke, yeah. I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah. And he's a big fan of TV's Strawberry Blonde Gary Damer. Well, thank you guys for joining in. This was the second part of the chat with Danny Mills on episode 9. Do you want to do any more chats? Where can they find us? Where can they see us?
On Twitter at Behind the Medal. Again, give us a like, give us a follow, get in touch. Let us know what you thought of the interview. Yeah, that's about it, I think.
Yeah, I think it is. Episode 10 to come next.
My housemate's knocking on the window to get let in now, so come on, wrap it up.
Okay. We'll see you next time on Behind the Medal.
Bye.